Dear SRCC community, our guest today, Ms. Priya Ramdev. Priya is an alumna of Sri Ram College of Commerce 2003 batch. She went on to do her MBA from Faculty of Management Studies and has led People Agenda at reputed organizations. We welcome you, Priya. Thank you for giving us time.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, Priya, I'll start from where your journey started after finishing your college, 2003. So, when you came out of SRCC as a graduate, besides, of course, the degree, what did you take along with yourself, which still reflects in the way you lead your teams?
Thank you for this question. It actually makes me very nostalgic. So I would say most importantly, what I took away was the confidence. I think walking in those hallways where such luminaries have walked just gives you a lot of confidence that that you can compete with the best in the country, and that fills you with the confidence you need to step into the corporate world. And so when I look back, I think that confidence has always made me hold my place in the room, and whichever leadership boardroom it has been. But having said that, I would also say lasting friendships. Lasting friendships that have grown over the years, and those are people you can tap onto for anything that you need. You can be as vulnerable as possible, and those have really lasted. And that includes not just peers in college, but also teachers and faculty members who have seen you when you were most nervous and anxious, and they still are in touch and are there to mentor you and guide you at those crucible moments when you need, you're really looking for some advice. So I would say that lasting relationships, lifelong relationships is the second one. And lastly, and last but not the least, I would say is the allegiance to the SRCC community or the institution, I would say, because like I mentioned, walking into that hallway, of course, fills you with pride and confidence, but it also infuses in you curiosity and ambition, and it sets a very high bar on excellence. When you see luminaries doing so well in the industry, and it fills you with the ambition that someday you would also be making your family and the institution proud. So I think that to me is very important.
Yeah, you have certainly made us proud. Yeah. So moving on, when you started your career, you were in pure finance domain, credit risk. Then you moved to consulting. Then you moved to lead people agenda at organizations. This even presently you are doing. So it's quite an arc. And so was it deliberate, or is it sounding logical only in hindsight?
Honestly, there was no master plan behind this. These were decisions taken at the time based on whatever I felt right at the moment. But yes, in hindsight, I do reflect that there's one common thread, which is the willingness to try something new, to take a risk, to get out of the comfort zone.
You said curiosity a few minutes back.
Yeah. So I think that I would say is the constant thread, because from a pure financial domain in banking to strategy consulting to the human agenda and even entrepreneurship, I think across all of these, the only common thing is a deep desire to learn, and that has motivated me to try new things. That has motivated me to and whenever I am exploring a new opportunity, evaluating the role, I ask myself two questions. One is, what are the skill sets that I'm going to build, and how is this new role going to challenge me beyond what I already know? So I think these two questions make me decide if the next opportunity is what I want to do. And I have challenged myself, stretched myself, but I think that is really the common thread.
Yeah. So I'll talk about one of the challenges which you must be facing. You're working in a domain where billable hours is the success, is the grammar success, okay, success of grammar. And then you have your CFOs always sitting with the spreadsheets. So how do you actually convince them? Because I understand it's quite a challenge that human function is not a support one. It's the real revenue driver. How do you do it?
So I have not had to convince anyone, because I truly believe that the people and the human resource is actually the revenue driver, and more so in professional services, because we are in a people business, and the revenue is directly proportional to people that are delivering client service, innovation that they are bringing, product, knowledge, new offerings, everything that drives growth is actually at the back of people. So I would say I've been fortunate enough to be in professional services, which are people businesses, and where I have had the good fortune to impact the people agenda, which was directly impacting revenues. But I do, and I would say this in conviction to anyone in this profession, that look, you can have the best of strategy. You may decide to enter new markets, launch new products, expand into new territories, but all of that strategy will eventually come to one question: do we have the right skills? Do we have the right leaders? Do we have the right culture? And that is when the human resources is going to make that strategy a success. So when Peter Drucker said that culture can eat strategy for breakfast, it is so true, and I see that every day in my work life.
Okay, you talked about culture, so I'll just take it a little further to cultural transformation. I want to ask you about it. So cultural transformation is something where many organizations have failed, and as in academics we understand maybe it's one of the most ambitious agenda on the plate of an organization, but it's a challenge for organizations. So what do you think from your experience that the organizations which have been able to do it successfully, why did they succeed? And those who failed, why did they fail?
So I would like to answer the latter part first, which is, why do organizations fail? And I think the organization that fail are the ones who think of culture as a communication campaign, who would set it out on posters, talk about it in town halls, and leave it in posters. Because culture is actually built in everyday experiences, and how people see leaders behaving, how decisions are made in the organization, who gets rewarded, who gets promoted, what is tolerated and what is not tolerated. So I think those are messages that talk louder than words, and people see that all the time. So the organizations which have been successful are the ones that have really walked the talk. I would say that's most important. The second one is that the mistake is when organizations think that culture transformation is a project with a defined start date and a defined end date. It's a journey. And it takes leadership commitment year after year to stay true to those values and behaviors and remain consistent in in the tone at the top, in how you are making those decisions and how you are communicating what you stand for and what is negotiable and non-negotiable. So I think it's a journey, and that's very important. While of course there will be micro cultures in the organization, some of them will have to be intentional, because that is what is fit for a certain business. That there might be a large legacy organizations trying to set up an innovation hub which has to run like a startup. Clearly the cultures will have to be different and will have to be intentionally designed. But it is important that you know what you are set out to do, and you know what you will draw from the parent and what microculture you would be supportive of. There are also times when there are microcultures they get formed because of certain personalities and individuals, and there again, if there is a need to stop them, it's important to take the right interventions. But I would say that is the third thing in my mind which can determine a success or a failure of the culture transformation.
Very interesting perspective, Priya. Priya, a few minutes back you talked about your entrepreneurship and leadership prism, I believe. Yeah. That is what you have floated. So what was like, since you have achieved a lot and you have limited time and you have such organizational responsibilities, so how are you managing it, and what motivated you to start this? If you can tell us a little about leadership prism, please.
Okay, wonderful. I'll be happy to. Leadership, actually it didn't start as an entrepreneurial pursuit. It started as a learning passion. When the world is talking about AI and tech and AI replacing humans, I wanted to learn more the human side of and I wanted to develop and deepen the human skill sets. And that is when I took a sabbatical and pursued a course on human psychodynamics, which feeds into executive coaching. And what I wanted to do was, of course, build my skill sets so that it makes me more effective in my role as HR head. However, I was so fascinated by whatever I learned that I got convinced that I have to use this to make an impact beyond one organization. And that gave me the conviction to start Leadership Prism. Because it never started as an entrepreneurial venture, it always started as my passion to learn the craft and to make amplify my impact with the craft. I decided to not make it a commercial venture, but more that impacts lives. So I work with leaders to unlock their potential, and it allows me to pursue something beyond the organizational boundaries, and something which I can decide to scale up or scale down based on the kind of time that I can commit to, but something that I am deeply passionate about and is deeply fulfilling.
So you actually, whatever you are saying, it resonates so well with our motto for the centenary: celebrating excellence, creating impact. You're exactly doing that. You're doing both. And thank you for that. So we have talked about one kind of talent pool line. I want to take you to another, and which is little more gender oriented. And you have been on both sides of equations. So I think you're the best person to ask this. Why is it that at the top leadership, the chances for women, or the talent pipeline, is it too narrow, or the chances are missing? What are the organizations doing which is wrong? And where women are in leadership roles, what are they doing right? Just one one thing which you feel is very, very important?
I think it's the combination of organizational support system, policy, inclusive culture on one hand, but at the same time, I would say in our social ecosystem as well, how there is an equitable sharing of responsibilities. And
This is very important, certainly.
and I see that more and more that even as women grow in their careers, they also grow in their life stages, but they continue to burden a larger share of the responsibilities at home. And even if it is organizing meals or children's schedule or just the mental burden of running the household. And the good thing in India is we do get a lot of support, but the orchestration around it can itself be very taxing. And I see that causing a lot of burnout, including a lot of women deciding on their own to not volunteer for extended opportunities at work. And while we may have programs, leadership development programs and opportunities where we would encourage women to volunteer for, but there are a lot of times when we hear this that, look, it will make we will become all the more busy and we will not be able to sustain. So I think it is both. From the organizational standpoint, creating those opportunities, those roles, sponsoring women into those roles, giving them any additional learning and training guidance. But at the same time, there is some work that needs to happen on the social aspect of it, including women themselves speaking out and drawing boundaries. And, a lot of what I said, just naturally falls on the women, and there are women who wouldn't speak up about it. So I think that becomes important. And lastly, since you mentioned about, very few women in the leadership positions and roles, it is true. And which is why I would say for very long, these boardrooms have been dominated by certain mannerisms of, the loudest voice, the most aggressive voice, the most passionate voice being heard, and the decisions get taken in a certain manner. So I think with more presence of women leaders in those rooms, that dynamic also has to change and is changing, because there are more diverse voices in the room now. And it is important that, as you are talking about inclusion, you are hearing, as a leader, I am a very strong proponent of empathy in leadership. I've authored some articles and also shared this in other interviews, that empathy is not about being nice. It's about being polite and assertive and putting your points across. And the rooms, the boardrooms that are inclusive are equally open to such voices, rather than just the loudest and the most aggressive voices. So I think some of that change is starting to happen as more and more women are getting into those board positions.
So that is very encouraging, because it seems everyone is playing their part. Organizations, women themselves, people like you who are the leaders, and very encouraging for the women, therefore women themselves, then the organizations, society, all put together are going to make a change. So you talked about certain writings. So I happened to read one of them, which was titled HBR, it was there in HBR, titled Courageous Leadership, Transforming Without Losing Your Core. So it's, I think, for our budding managers, it's quite a challenge for them, that how to change, how to transform without losing the value system they believe in. So was it a challenge for you? How did you do it?
It is the most toughest part of leadership, or I would say of our life journeys. Why just bucket it under career or professional? I would say it is the toughest part of our life journeys. to actually be self-aware, to know who you are. And I think courage draws from there. To know who you are, what is negotiable to you, what is acceptable to you, and what is not. That to me is the starting point of any courageous decision. And it reflects truly well in organizations, whichever role you might be, and whatever decision you want to influence or you want to take. If it is core to you and your values, it's also important whether the organization values and your values are aligned, and there are times when they do not, they are not aligned, and that's also important.
That is where the challenge is.
That's also very important to know and address and resolve, and if not resolve, decide to even step away. I think that itself is and can be a courageous decision. For me, I think venturing out to start Leadership Prism was a very courageous decision, because, as I said, it started with a learning mindset, a skill development journey, and I got convinced that I want to do more with it, and started this venture. And it's very important that when you don't have an organizational playbook and guidelines and rules, to be able to define what it would be, what is the kind of work that you would do, who are the people you're going to be working with, and what is it that you will not do. So without the organizational guardrails, having to decide all of that requires a great deal of courage and self-awareness. And I think it was through those multiple day in and day out, the decisions that I was making, is when I realized that, look, at the core of it was the deep desire to learn and make an impact. And it was not to achieve a certain commercial milestone. And hence, I decided to keep that venture not-for-profit venture, so that I could decide who I want to work with, and who I want, and what kind of work I want to do or not do. And I think those decisions that I made day in, day out defined what Leadership Prism was going to be about. It defined my values and the organization's values, and who are the people I was going to associate with as partners, as vendors, and as clients. So to me, it did have a lot of successes as well as failures. But I think both of them did, I take them as learning experiences. And I continue to spend time on Leadership Prism, but with absolute clarity on what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So to me, it has really been a story or a journey of courage.
Oh, so I can put it in a very simple way. It was an experience which introduced you to your own self, which made you realize how much can you push yourself. There is life beyond boundaries, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So it's such truly courageous, and I'm sure our young audience are listening and they are going to get motivated. So Priya, just the last question. If you have to give one sentence to Priya Ramdev of year 2000, what it would be?
I would say, no regret, say yes to life. If I had to say anything to the Priya Ramdev of 2000, it would be thank you for being carefree, for exploring the multiple things that you explored, and not fearing failures. And I think that's something that I have really valued, and I would also like to, because this is so strongly associated with SRCC as the institution, I would really thank the institution for just letting the students explore and try multiple things. Even back then there were so many clubs and societies, and the faculty guided us, but they never constrained us with with any specific school of thought. So I think my best memories as well as my best learnings, lifelong learnings, have come from there. So thank you to the Priya Ramdev of 2003 and to all of SRCC community.
Thank you so much, Priya. We are really humbled. So we wish you a lot of success in all your endeavors, professional as well as personal, and amazingly happy time ahead.
Thank
The same
you.
laughter which you had when you were at college always should be there on your face.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you.